Welcome to the AI for You Cafe for live presentations around AI. The speakers today are from Canada. Yeah, Patricia and Natalie. Yeah, Natalie St-Pierre is the president and founder, SDG Capital Corporation Canada, and Patricia Gautrin is the PhD student in ethics of artificial intelligence and president of Intelligence NAPSE inclusive. With the talk AI Lifecycle, the data journey, unlocking patient capital for the 17 SDGs. My name is Carmen McWilliams and I'm the moderator and organizer. I'm the director of the company Grassroots Arts and partner in the European AI for You project. So always in the beginning, I welcome everybody, and also there are some short regulations. Please take notice that the session will be recorded. No confidential information shall be shared in this cafe session. In this cafe, the speakers express their personal view and opinions. This is not necessarily the official AI for You project opinion. So, as always, this web cafe is a place to meet each other. It offers live web sessions to gain insights into the European and Canadian and international global AI scene. So you get the chance to share knowledge and experience, and maybe also meet after this cafe peer-to-peer. You can drop by an email if you want to go in more details. Yes, and again, this is an interactive session, as you all know. Please write down your questions in the control panel. It's on the right side. There's a chat and questions. They're very welcome, the questions. I will read them after the presentation of the speakers, and they answer. And now we come to the highlight of today, and these are Natalie and Patricia.
Thank you, Carmen.
Now I introduce you, and then I will hand over the mic to you. Natalie St-Pierre is president and founder of SDG Capital Corporation. She is the lady with the white, beautiful sweater. She's an expert focused on systemic changes with more than 20 years of experience in taxation project and technology implementation, management and consulting, philanthropy and UN SDGs. Proven innovator, graduate studies in knowledge and mobilization. Wow. And SDG Capital Corporation is a Canadian startup currently prototyping Quebec technology SDG co-investment platform, enabling funders to make evidence-based selections between SDG innovations for a better world. AI and machine learning will play a key role in ensuring inclusive and unbiased selection algorithms built in this platform. So this is great. This is Natalie, and now I come to Patricia, and then Patricia Gautrin. She's passionate about both technology and philosophy after 20 years of career in marketing. She's a PhD student in ethics of artificial intelligence and president of Intelligence NAPSE, as NAPSE Incorporated. She plans herself to fulfill a social mission dear to her heart, ethics of artificial intelligence. Currently a doctoral student at the University of Montreal, she's working on the development of AI standards. Through her entrepreneurial spirit and her constant creativity, she has participated in the development and marketing of numerous software. Her professional activities and her interpersonal skills have allowed her to develop a solid business network at the source of several contracts and partnerships. And Intelligence NAPSE Incorporated is a Canadian startup which aims to be a place of business and networking in AI, support for funding tools, and the incubator of responsible AI certifications. Wow, impressive. Thank you for being here. And again,
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you, you're here. Thank you. Now I give over to Natalie, and she will be now our moderator, and she will also introduce more herself. One moment. Wait 1 second. Yeah, you are now slowly the moderator. So Natalie is now, yeah.
Hello. So thank you, Carmen, for that great introduction and for the invitation as well. Thank you, Patricia, to have accepted to accept the challenge of mapping ethics with the SDG framework, because as a lot of people know, like I've been a preacher of Agenda 2030 for over 2 years. So today is actually a very important day, as it has been 2 years that we launched the project in Montreal. And now we're going to kind of share it on a global platform. So now, how do I move? Okay, so good. So today, Patricia, I would like to ask you to start before the program. How do you show up today?
Okay, well, I show up with my cafe, like Carmen says, and I'm very happy to be talking today and to have that great audience. Today I want to speak about AI ethics. I won't go too deeper in the theoric sentence or whatever. I just want to show how our SDGs framework will help us to go deeper and to go faster with AI ethics. So it's about my topic. I want to show how different SDGs and especially the 16 SDG will help us to put a framework on our job.
Thank you, Patricia. So myself, I'm showing up actually as a mother. So I'm a mother that is hopeful that if we take action together, we can go faster in transforming our world to make sure that it's a safe and very good place for our children and grandchildren to live in the future.
Right.
So as I mentioned, like I am a preacher of the SDGs, which I like because it's a common framework for action and impact measurement. So to actually build a dashboard to know where we're at. 2020 is the launch of the Decade of Action by the UN. What we have, we're all really living the crisis brought by COVID-19, which has brought light to many social issues. And I still am hopeful that it offers opportunity for economic recovery, but in line with the SDGs. So really understanding that we are all interdependent and interconnected on the planet. So, and my personal project is about SDG innovators and patient funders that would have a complex, critical roles to implement solutions to our complex issues.
So together, we run together towards the same 17 SDGs. What we want to share here is that we are like everybody's running, and we want to run together. We want to run together to be more to go faster, to get empowered by each other. So the first thing is to show how we need to connect with the right people and with the right
goals. The right goals. So hence the Agenda 2030 with 17 goals already designed and negotiated between 193 countries. And let's start use them because they were built with our taxpayers' money. So I think that we could at least try to make them successful. And then in the process, we can as well make them better.
Yes, and the idea is to show that even if we are running fast together, everything, we need some sprinters. We need some people who run faster, who could have abilities, agility to get further and to come back and to push higher every information they get when they sprint. So here we focus on the SDG 9, which is industry, innovation, and infrastructure. We need to not to change them, but to address them, the SDGs goals.
And we need to be to fear less going outside the track of the current type of infrastructure that was built. We need to just now invent a new path to a different infrastructure, and I believe that that is will be done with technology. So, Patricia.
So yeah, this is where I talk. No, this is the goal 16, which is the framework I will be using for evolving ethics, because it says stand up for human rights, and we have here different targets that we can use, and we can use as a framework. Here I have some of them that I just push up. And we have the 16.3 that says promote the rule of law and ensure equal access to justice for all. So this is one of the issue for AI ethics, and we will put it in mind. So ensure equal access to justice for all. The other one is substantially reduce corruption and bribery. So corruption, how it can get with AI. So this is one of our topics. Develop effective, accountable, and transparent institutions. So we will talk about transparency with data. After that, we have ensure responsive, inclusive, and representative decision making, which is very important also, because we know already that we have some bias in AI, and that's some decision making will not be made by the right person. So we really have to address that representative decision making. After that, we have ensure public access to information and protect fundamental freedoms. So we all know that freedoms for Americans, for Canadians, is very important, for European also. But we have to think back what is really freedom with the AI environment. Promote and enforce non-discriminatory laws and policy, and that is regard also of the bias. So we have to be very careful of the bias, because we can some AI system could be very wrong for people.
And they're going to be very powerful in repeating the past that we don't want anymore.
Exactly. So we really have to address those issues. So now, if we want to understand AI process, where is the place for ethics? That's my question, and I'm going to address a very schematic way to explain AI. So some people know it, some people don't know. Maybe I'm going fast for some people, maybe I'm going slow, but I just want to tell that maybe if you go into the above, Natalie, and the first one we have in the other slide, like
okay. This one,
this one, the AI project life circle. I don't want to go too deeper in that one, because some knows that when they in the AI project life circle, there's different phases. I want to point that in first look, it seems that our concerns about data security should be addressed in one and only phase of AI, which is the training and data procurement. But we'll see that the data journey is much more complex and affects all stage of innovation. That is really my point. So when we look at the picture, the overall picture, we think that it's only in one place that we have to address it, but it's not, and we're going to see that. So okay, can you go on the other slide?
Yeah,
the data journey. So I was impressed to see that SDGs already address really good question over here. So we have to enhance availability to reliable data, and that's what we need to do. in that journey, we see that there's a phase of collection, phase of access, usage, storage, transfer, deleting, or destruction. And that phase of AI has to be clean in every phases. We have to clean the data in every phases. That means that in the collection, we have to address an ethic regards for cleaning, and the access also in the usage. So we really have to have that mindset of cleaning data in every phases. So the cleaning process has to be part of each phase of the data journey. Each phase must be explainable to avoid bias. And what we see now is that most of the phases are not explainable, and that's the problem. So some are transparent, some are have some policies, but they're not all explainable. And we really have to understand every phases of the AI to really address the good objectives. So we can see already that we have like I say a protection belt for the data, but I can see also some gaps. So different initiatives are yet used for data protection, but they seem isolated. So we have data access, user access, you have some application access, you have some mobile security on that application or the other one. But they were designed to fix a specific problem from a specific domain. So we have to be careful there, because it was a specific fix, a specific patchwork somewhere. That valves will gain objectivity from a better cleaning process throughout all the data journey. And that is very important. Protection must be organized into a path for common objectives to let no one behind. And that's also a really good assert from the SDGs, to let no one left behind. So now we say, why working in AI ethics? Why will we address that in ethics? So let me answer, because we have the need for ethics is here. Leaders looking for the use of AI ethically need to be aware of the potential ways in which AI is open to misuse. So this is one problem. There could be misuse of AI. That will help them to build trust with customers or other stakeholders as people gradually become more aware of unethical uses of AI. So I want to talk about trust. We will talk about trust, because trust is the European made in action for AI ethics. I mean, European are building a framework that foundation is on trust. But we will talk about trust, because trust could be difficult to address in AI. So, but we do really understand how AI systems make the decision. Okay, so that's the question, sorry. But do we really understand how AI systems make the decision they do? Do we really understand? There's like a black box there. So we don't understand everything about AI today, especially in advanced deep learning AI. We don't understand everything, what's in the box. So this lack of understanding poses questions for accountability and trust, as well as accuracy. So,
and Patricia, when preparing, we discussed the important point that we're not just talking here from a business perspective, and we're talking about all the stakeholders. We're all stakeholders in that AI impact. So basically, I believe we need to go back and look at it from a citizen perspective. We're all a citizen of a certain community, or of several communities, actually. But what we want is to each of us like feel empowered to act as responsible citizen and ensure that tough questions are being asked, and that relevant actions as well are being done. Is that right, Patricia?
Yeah, it's right. It's right. And it seems, for some people, it would seem complex, and maybe we would say, oh, it's not my specialty. But everybody has to think about it, because everybody's using AI. Everybody will use AI in the future. So we really have to think about that now. But I have lots of hope for AI ethics. Some people have fear. I have a hope. So, because I have that sentence, as we humanize machines, we will stop mechanizing ourselves. So I think that's a good point here, because if we are thinking about ethics in AI, it's because we are in an intelligence, and we are in a new path, and we really have to think, what is that in intelligence? And it also permits to think about ourselves, our proper intelligence, and our proper principles. So when decisions are augmented or even automated by AI systems, we can remove some baggage of the human of the baggage that human brings to the decision-making process. It means that if we think about what we put inside the AI for the impact of it, we will have to think about what we usually put in our technology. So we have to think back of what we are and what we want to put in the technology. And we have to be careful to not put bias, or not to put any prejudice in the technology, because it's going to be augmented. As more decisions are being driven by AI, the need for critical thinking about AI systems is more important than ever. And it's why I'm here, and it's why I'm building that business. In practice, this means educating people in the organization about AI and encouraging them to question AI decision in every phases. We must give people the tools they need to overcome automated bias. Also, we have to think about how we can avoid those bias.
And obviously, I will stress again, the interest of looking it through the lens of the SDGs is that we're each a person that has responsibility, and we're interconnected. So we shouldn't accept to encourage practice that is actually that we wouldn't want to feel ourselves, not having that experience. So each of us, whether we're coders, tax practitioner, humanist, philosopher, I believe we need to come to the table and really ask the simple question, would I accept being treated like that myself? So why would I do that to somebody else?
Exactly. It's a good point. So in brief, OECD's principles, they already built some principles. I will read them because they're good, but they're not enough today. So AI should benefit people and the planet. I hope we all agree with that. AI should be designed in a way that respects the law, human rights, democratic values, and diversity. And that is really the one I will take and use, because I think it's the more important. There should be transparency so that people can understand and challenge AI-based outcomes. AI must function in a robust, secure, and safe way, with risks being continually assessed, AI-based managed. And the word is, the important word is here, continually. And you will see later. Organizations deploying AI should be held accountable for their proper functioning in lines with these principles. So this is the OECD's principles. And I will show you that we can start with those, but we have to address all the targets from the SDGs too, that they are, because they are more complex, and they give more information, and they go deeper in the principles. So I have that little, okay, so we can go on the AI ethics values. So it's difficult to put some values here, because some say that they are universal, and the others say that they are subjective. So we have two different mindsets here. two different theories, but I will think of those things and explain it to you. So AI, there are already some initiatives. So around 100 public-private initiatives have produced already statements describing high-level values of principle and to guide the ethical development of AI. So already we have some initiatives. AI ethics has covered on a set of values that closely resemble the 4 classic principles of medical ethics, which is autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, and justice. But we think that is not enough. So AI ethics, there's issue for AI values. So what are the issues? First of all, there's a lack of professional history and norms of good behavior in AI because it's new and there's no law already for ethics. So we have to build them, and there's a lack over here. So we have to be very creative.
Yeah, and Patricia, I would add though that in Quebec we're one of the place that has the most professional responsibility. So we have a government office that kind of norms the behavior of like over 40 professions. And yet, because you have the law, that's not even enough, because then you need to enforce the law, and then it gets into a tricky position. So it's no small challenge what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's true. So software engineer has historically not been legally recognized as a profession with fiduciary duties. And that goes with what you just said, Natalie. So there's a lack over there. And that's why there's a lot of work to do over here. Shared values are not enough to guarantee trustworthy and ethical AI in the future. So we have to go further. So that's why I'm working on AI ethics, and I want to build something stronger than what we already have. So AI ethics, what AI ethics must do a long-term pathway to impact must be clearly defined. Why? Because here is our subject, Natalie. We have to measure the impact. We need to measure the impact. So we have to put indicators into these values, and that is our work. But with the SDGs, we have a great framework. So we will be able to do that indicators with the help of what already was built. So after that, early visible accountability structures as well as clear implementation and review process are needed. So we have to work over here.
And that's why we both believe that the more business approach is a great way, because often business has a really focus on attaining their goals. The thing we're saying is that we need to change the goals people are looking at, but we could use that method of being faster in attaining the goals. So that's our proposition this morning.
Yeah, exactly. I will say, if you go on the other slide.
I'm a little bit slow with the slide.
No, it's all right. We already, oh my God, time goes fast.
That's okay.
This one is very important, because what is happening here is that if we go like the traditional way and we think about problems, and then we build principles, and then we build laws, it's going to be very long. And AI is already every day something is happening, some invention are there. So we have to be agile. We really have to be agile in that world. So I think that business with AI ethics has to be evolving. So it's very, very important. It's very different from what we've seen already. So
and Patricia, and other stakeholders such as governments as well.
Exactly.
Because they have a great impact on people on the planet.
Yes. So first of all, ethics is the is a process, not a destination. So it's really a work in process, and we really have to assure that in each phases of the AI circle, there is some ethics and there is some concerns for ethics. And second, the real work of ethics, AI ethics, begins now. It's true, there is no law about AI ethics today. So, and it's very important. I told you, there's some patchwork here and there, but it concerns a certain domain. But what happens with the AI is you can take what was developed in that domain and bring it to another domain. And in that other domain, there is no principle. So AI could be very misused. And third, how to translate values into indicators, because here we need to measure the ethics. And that's our real issue here, and that's why we are taking the SDG framework. So
Exactly.
Well,
and what I want to emphasize is that, once again, those SDG targets and indicators were basically negotiated around the world. So they're kind of representing, at the time they were negotiated, the best that could be done by the UN and the country's representative. But what has happened, a big failure, is that nobody in real life has really adopted them explicitly. Although there's lots of good work being done, today we're still not able to know how good we're faring against those indicators. So that's why we believe that we need to think about it as a work in progress, and that for sure, like, ethics needs to be on the forefront of everybody and every citizen. And then let's build a better framework with new indicators in the future. But let's start with something that has already been thought about and debated greatly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And that has very good values too for human rights.
Yeah.
So here we have some questions, because there's a lot of issues, bias, fears, threats from AI, but we wanted to talk about workforce. What about jobs? That's some of our questions. That's a question. That's a question. I mean, everybody can say that, well, AI is coming up. What about our jobs? What are we going to do? So,
and what about our happiness? Because
yeah,
is it like, are we looking into the future to just reproduce the past? Because basically this picture is about the past, like that was the view of what the job was.
And I like that picture because it really shows that we've been through that evolution, we've been through that transformation, and we still maybe not remember it. It was not far away, and that's what we will be maybe facing today. But I have some hope, and Natalie too, and
yes,
we think that we really have to address transformation, and not fear and everything. So we will
and
have
not repeating blindly the past.
No.
And that's why we are promoting to really try it from a new way with new actions, but as well always reflecting on evidence-based decision making.
Yes, and also I think basically it will be very interesting to find pictures for the future. Because how could we imagine in the future people working? Will it be just like a sweatshop we see here, which we don't like anymore, or will it be like we will be in some beautiful chill out space and have beautiful? I mean, the vision for the future, everybody has a different vision, but it will be for sure different. And now that's super
completely
clear.
Yeah, and that's why it's exciting, and that's why we're hopeful. We think that we're at a crossroads and at a good place, because there are lots of tools, including technology and AI, and there's a lot of, I believe, human that want to keep their homeland, so the planet. So basically caring about nature, caring about animals, caring about other living creatures. And so I think we had that big COVID pause. So now it's the time to imagine the future, what it would be like.
Yes, that's exactly why. Great.
So, and that's where we're going into a practical application. So as it was announced, and thanks again, Carmen, for your generous offering of holding a cafe with our French accent from Quebec, because as maybe some of you know, like we're a small place with 8 million citizens, and we're basically within over 300 million citizens that mostly speak English in North America. Mm-hmm. So we're kind of a small gang, but with a lot of with big arts and a lot of social programs.
Yeah.
Yet with an entrepreneurial mindset. So this is what I want to make sure that we kind of focus on action-based and the entrepreneurial mindset with agility, like Patricia mentioned.
Yeah, that's it. But I want to just expose here how we should work today in AI ethics and have that entrepreneurial, yeah, oh my God, entrepreneurship mind. So we all have to be designers. So what is really design? We have to create. We have to, because we are in the new world over here, and there's not many steps here with AI ethics. So we have to be designer really in process. So we have to design new processes, and we also have to design our mindsets. So what else? Also, we have to leverage collective wisdom, and that's why we need to run together, to gather different insights and long-term plans. Because here, I really want to address long-term plans, because we cannot always like to be in short terms. That AI ethics has to be a long term, and we really have to think very, very far away. So also, I think we have to use the iterative processes, and that is really new, I think, for AI ethics and even for philosophers. We have to be agile by continuous rethinking. That's why we are sprinters. So we have to think some principles, and we have to go back and to do some audits, and have to come back and rethink again. So we really have to have that mindset. Also, we have to master uncertainty, because we don't know yet what are going to be the impacts. We don't know yet, but we really have to be able to work in that uncertainty, and to be very agile and confident. So be prepared for changes.
Yeah, I know, Patricia, what we talked about, it was really about really taking risk to lead new paths. So exactly. So we discussed, and we called it the word trailblazers, which is basically pioneers. So I think we all need to put our trailblazer suit and being confident that we're going to discover like new things. Some of them will not be pleasant, but a lot of them might bring us to the place that we're looking for. Like Carmen, you said, the new picture of what our life could be in the future.
Exactly. So what about the iterative process? So as I said, we have to look at the situation. Then we have to understand, which means that we understand the complexity of AI, what's in the black box and everything. And then we have to look again our objective. And that is the iterative processes. And that's where the sprint relay goes, because you have to go back to your objective. Every time you have new information, you have to go back to your objective and rethink again about the situation. And that is the agile way. That is that is a way to go faster in the progress and in your process. So after
and Patricia, it is a approach, a methodology that is being used in implementing huge technology projects. So what we're saying is basically we need to adopt something like that, blending basically a framework that is the SDGs, but blending it with an approach that is bringing the agility to the table.
Yeah, exactly, because AI has to, I mean, I've been working a lot with engineers, and that's the way they work, and that's the way they were building AI. So I think we, philosopher thinkers, has to go in the same process, same design process as they do.
So now it's the time for me to show you, like, this is our faming portion. So in Quebec, and mostly in French, that's why in the middle of this circle, it's called Accélérer 2030 Québec. So we've been building an ecosystem of early adopters of the SDGs. And it has been quite a challenge to build that ecosystem, because we all need to understand that most of our daily lives in Quebec it's spent in French, and yet most of the material of the SDGs are available. The best ones are available in English. So basically, that's one of our thing, is that we are in a place where in a social state in Quebec, but a social state that has to be competitive and has a lot of great sustainable development tools. Basically, we have hydroelectricity, we have daycare to help women participate in the workforce and really going for their dreams. We have great education, and that came from really a visionary decision over 50 years ago to really give access to higher education, to make it like widely available to Quebecers. So now we're reaping the rewards of those bold moves that were made prior. And that's why we believe that certainly we can do our share to do for the next leap. And that's why we're very hopeful. Oops. Where is that? So what I'm here to talk about, the Quebec prototype, it is about making sure that those sprints are being done. So basically, what we've observed was that the sprinters, which I equate to kind of basically innovators and startups, they often have a lot of potential to address systemic issues. And we can think about one, like a few of them that have happened in the past. Let's talk about the GAFA. So they all started with innovators and startup. That being said, they started with a particular context, and there was a lot of funding available in Silicon Valley. Now what we found it in Quebec, in Canada, and basically in the world, to try to start projects with the aim of addressing the Agenda 2030 and the SDGs. People are kind of don't want to take the risk, so there's a funding gap. And there's a funding gap in the pre-seed and the seed stage of innovation. So on top of that, because of other different policies to protect investors, there are as well barriers to getting, if we're not able to get it from our family, can we get the money somewhere else? Well, actually, there are other barriers. So what happens is that basically it is the wealthier people that are able to really do the startups. And unfortunately, it doesn't mean that they have the best ideas. Often they can be, but what we see is they're mostly men and coming from rich family. So certainly they often don't have the experience of what should be changed because they didn't live it. So what what we're prototyping now is to really close that barrier, the lack of long-term capital, to be able to roll out systemic solution to attain the SDGs. From the funders' perspective, that are the Quebec prototype, which has been done privately so far. So, and we kept it private to make sure that we understood what were the barriers from their perspective. And it's very important to know that there are lots of barriers for a lot of people. So what we want is to unlock those barriers so we can run together and fast to the SDGs. So philanthropists do have a social mission, and we wanted to start with them to make sure that their donation be effective. And what we found was that the philanthropists do share, and but they don't have access to systematic tools to be able to do impact measurement. So basically, because of complex tax rules, and because of a lot of requests, they're being really asked by people saying, I need money, and I need charity money. The philanthropists have taken the path of least resistance, which is basically safe and short-term charity strategy. And that's what we want to change. So we're at the end of that prototyping phase. Actually, as we speak, there is another workshop with my Quebec colleagues with such funders and startups. And really what I'm here to say is that we're ready to start the construction of a collaboration infrastructure. And my platform is the SDG Covestment platform. And don't look at in the dictionary, because co-investment is the idea of co-creation, like Patricia said, that we need to design. Investment is to allude to the idea of investment, so basically long-term return, but really not going into the mindset of the finance sector, but really staying like in the pre-seed and seed stage, and to work collaboratively with when there are like certain ideas that can be built into businesses or other long-term projects. There are other people in our society that can take them and lead them to even greater success. So the platform is based on really evidence-based decision-making, impact measurement, and better access to SDG projects. And one thing that Patricia and I really share greatly is like data transparency. But once again, we see that we want good data. We don't want just like the biases and the old thinking in that data. So we'll need to define new data to be able to capture it and in the end measure it. So basically it is with the idea of going in with the innovators as printers and the funders as trailblazers that we would embark on building that ecosystem as a prototype in Quebec with a 3-year plan. And we want to develop sustainable infrastructure, but the new infrastructure, the one that makes us work together in that big race, in that long race.
So if I can put here the point of view of AI ethics, what we've been saying is that we have to leave no one behind. So it's our major concern here. So how we can do that? How we can address that concern? I think AI projects should and that's what we said already, but we have to put it every day, repeat it every time. AI projects should protect human values, so there has to be protection. International SDGs provide a robust framework and formulation of those values, so that's why I want to work with that framework, and I think it's a good way to do it also, because there's a lot of work over there. SDG approach should be implemented through policies and practices, so we have to translate it. AI organizations should communicate also and evaluation of the societal impacts. So also we have to ask for the AI organization to communicate more about their projects. AI organization also and researchers should conduct continuous AI ethics analysis. And that's why I said already, it has to be continually evolving. AI organizations should be aligned with the United Nations SDGs. That's why I'm repeating and I'm saying it again. So if you go and the other one, so what about the evolving aspect? We always we have to put some research and go back and really rethink our position all the time. So social scientists and computer scientists should work together to operationalize human rights. And social scientists should empirically investigate the impact of AI on human rights. So that's where we want to put indicators to measure the impact. So, and it has to be continuously researched. That's what I already says. So now what could be the indicators? So I have here a frame that I've put, and it can be changed, but I think it's a good frame here. If we look at the AI life cycle, we can put those indicators. So we can measure the data, we can measure the security, we can measure the time, and the time in each aspect, the transparency and the cost value, the bias, the audit that we're gonna have, and also the accountability. So all that key indicators could be addressed with SDG frameworks. So we can work together. So we already have a frame.
Yeah, and I also, as being a preacher of the SDGs, I also often got the critics or the resistance that it was for global transaction or for global development of countries. But I'm telling you, I went through the detail of it, and most of the SDGs, more than 75%, are actually locally based. So we can use it locally and then create the data in each locality. So basically, it should be localized, because if we just keep saying that it's not applicable and we never use it, it's for sure it's going to become redundant. But right now, out of 2020, like we've looked at it, and basically they're all relevant, and even more so during this COVID crisis. So we need to make sure that we're using like this crisis as an urgency, and making sure to put the resources that needs to be put to the work of getting things done to create a better world, and not like staying in the past. The past is the past. We cannot do anything with it. We can just do today something to create a better tomorrow, but just today. And I believe that target 17.19 is very important. It's to further develop measurements of progress. So this is something that is very local. So we should stop thinking that it's about poor countries. This is a framework that has been developed, and that we should now
start. Yeah, we should go. We should go now, because we really have to put all that we have said in action. Yeah. And that's why we're looking for measurements. We are looking for a real impact, and I think,
and why there are like just men in that picture. I want to make sure that you all understand that Patricia and I discussed it. And because I've been on the market to raise capital the last 2.5 years, I can tell you what I found. There's lots of great solution out there. I think that I want to make clear. It's not a problem that there's no market to create like really solution and sprints that will help the collective. What I found out is that the power of making the money decision is almost always in the hands of men. Okay, and you can look at the picture, so you're gonna have a better idea. So basically today, what I'm asking is that every man that is in that position to consider like really becoming a trailblazer and taking the risk of leaving his comfort zone of oh yeah, I've always done that way, and also for their personal benefit. So let's cut the greed and really imagine what all that power and wealth could be doing for the greater good with measurement. So we don't want for people or for men to have the impression that they're throwing the money out the window. We want to have the message that we should have hope, but that we should take urgent action towards creating that new world. And maybe in 3 years, Carmen, we're going to have that new picture that you've asked about. We would like that.
I'm coming now. This is going to be a competition. This is going to be the competition to show the picture how you imagine yourself in the future working. I even got one, so maybe I'm able to show it very quickly. There was one of the participants already showing one. So I'm trying to show it, but I will also ask you questions. So because the time is running, so I understand that you are like want to tackle the SDGs, like really critical and complex societal challenges. So what in your eyes how could AI really help to solve these challenges? For example, do you have examples how it could help in climate change or fight the virus, corona, or prevent hunger or prevent war? Is anything what you would say what could help? How could AI help?
I think AI bring the ability to work collectively. So and we've seen it like right now the projects that have like kind of become stronger are the GAFA, so basically Facebook and Amazon, and they use AI. So what we want is instead of just using it to do stuff that maybe is not that ethical or that is not it's questionable, well, why don't we see that it's powerful to make us successful in working together? And yet look at that. That's exactly well, that's not my picture because I'm not so much like you, Carmen. I know you love the water, but me, I'm more about the forest, actually.
So anyway, this is Peter van der gave this nice input.
But that's the spirit. This is the spirit. Doesn't mean that we're all going to do nothing. To the opposite, we're going to be the best version of ourselves.
Yes, thank you. So I'm now going back to a serious presentation. No, one moment.
No, it was not serious. It has to be fun.
Yes, it has to be fun. And the key is it has to be what everybody wants, a little bit more personalized, a little more individual, the world, a little bit more what you really want to do. And I think, I mean, if I can give an answer, I think AI is just another technology, just another tool which shall support us, shall make our life better. And it's a tool, no? And it's up to us how to use that tool. It's not the tool decides what we do. I mean, we use that tool to make life better, whatever it means, to solve the critical or societal challenges or to make just my personal life better. No?
It's all about the objectives. It's all about the objective. You can have like really good objective if you work in education or medical institution. You already have a good objective because you work for the society. But you can have a goal that should be maximize the profits, and your company maximizes the profits, and you're happy with that. But what I'm saying here is that our objectives has to be more concentrated on the impact in the society. Even if we work already in a domain that is good for human rights, if we maximize our profit and everything, but we have to put on top of that the objective to really ensure that what we are doing with the technology is going to be good for humanity.
Yes. Yes.
And with justice, Patricia, because we have to remember, we're not saying that we should let everybody do nothing and hope for the best. We're telling that basically that framework is about justice. So, so basically, if you try more and you do more, well, you should get more. But if you're doing more bad for the planet and more bad for the people, how come you're allowed to continue doing that? Because there's a lack of measurement. So what we want is just to encourage the good behaviors, and we're going to make mistakes along the way, because certain things that people think were good, well, they turn out not to be good. But we want to change those experiments and to stop the bad behavior faster. So not wait for 50 years again to stop a lot of environmental problems, and we knew it was bad. But so basically,
and what was hidden in the past, it could not be hidden anymore. I mean, because we're going to have data on everything, so we're going to have transparency. So we have to change our behavior also, because we cannot hide what we are doing today.
Yes.
But for greater happiness. Yeah.
Slowly, my ladies, I think everybody who wants to continue this conversation with Natalie and Patricia, I think it's time to also connect directly to you. I hope it's okay for you that they...
Yes, I will ask you, Carmen, I will send you the presentation, and you can share, and then you can share our emails.
Great, that's what I will do. So please, everybody who feels like continuing, this is the idea, to just kick off this conversation in the cafe, and there's always a way to connect directly. So once more, thank you for being here. Thank you very much. And I have to just... Yes, last announcement. Please come back next week. It's last, last 2 more cafes before Christmas, so the second last is next week on December 15th. It's Nicolas Longuepay, and it will be a short version from ESA, European Space Agency. This is great. There will be the Earth Observation Program of the European Space Agency will talk about the use of AI. The talk is ESA's AI for EU initiative, bridging the gap between the AI and Earth observation communities. So here we have it. Thank you again, and have a nice afternoon, everybody. Thank you for being here, and see you hopefully.
Bye.
Thank you,
Carmen. Bye. Thank you for the listener.
Bye.
Thank you.